Hi there guys, this is David over at DSM. So recently I purchased the TTRPG sci-fi horror game Mothership. Ran my first session as a Warden, it's kind of the games master, a couple of days ago. I just kind of want to share my first kind of thoughts about it. I have played the game before, played it as a player a couple of weeks back, went to a session with Roll With It. Our Warden Connor ran for us. Gotta say, I fell in love with the system. I spent a wonderful couple of hours running around the derelict spaceship as a relatively mentally unstable ex-marine, kind of where I like to live. Had a lot of fun, shot some aliens, killed some scientists, all good. So I really enjoyed it, and I wanted to give it a go as a warden, and want to share my first impressions. So had a few people over, ran the session. Two people had played it before once, and one person was a complete noob to it. Kind of think it was a good sample size. A lot of fun. It's perfect for kind of inserting all the kind of sci-fi, don't want to say tropes, but all the sci-fi kind of detritus that we kind of pick up over the years, and it was great fun to kind of recycle that and kind of put it in my own, give my own particular sort of spin on it. Character creation was an absolute doddle. There's an helpful app that allows you to get it all sorted, no problem. It works on a D100 system. One of the things we figured out quite quickly is that you are more likely to fail when you roll for any kind of check. That can be quite entertaining. One thing I figured out when the players landed in the abandoned colony, spoiler alert, all the colonists were dead. When they were starting to do checks and everything to see, okay, why are there no people here? Can I find anything? What's all this blood doing here? When people were failing checks, I felt that even though there was no monster and there'd been no sign of any kind of monster or any kind of threat immediately, there were still consequences to be had when they were failing their checks, thanks to something they call stress. Now, whenever you fail a check in Mothership, you are forced to take a point of stress. Now, these add up as time goes on. When you reach a certain level, or at certain points throughout the game, you're forced to take something called a panic check. Now, when that happens, you roll a d20. It's the only time you roll a d20 in the game. If you roll under the level of stress that you've got, you are then kind of thrown with a permanent debuff. So it can be anything from, you have disadvantage on number of checks because you have a sensation of doom. One of my favorite ones is suspicious, where whenever a new person joins the party, you meet a new person, you immediately distrust them. And you take a stress point whenever you meet a new person. I find that one so much fun, and I really, really look forward to playing some further games if that happens, so I can see someone try and role play with it, because you're going to see a lot of entertaining things there. But yeah, so I found that was quite good. It made sure that the players were aware there was tension. It meant that you were immediately in that headspace of, okay, there is something out there that is hunting us, even before they heard the first kind of actual clue that there was a monster tracking them. They knew there was a problem because they were getting more and more stressed. And the great thing is, I did notice as the stress points came up, I really felt that some of my players were definitely getting more and more stressed because they could see something going wrong, but they didn't know exactly how it was going to affect them. And it's so much fun to see that as a warden who enjoys tormenting their players like I do. So yeah, the characters had a fairly decent time of it. They found out what was wrong. They realized they had to get comms back up so they could get back to their ship. Ended up interacting with some survivors, some scientists, and their fairly glitchy androids. We had a fair bit of fun with this when it came down to combat. One of the things I'd say about combat in this is that it is very, very immediate. It's very kind of pared down to the bone. You get one action in combat, but whether that's I'm going to run down this corridor, or I'm going to open fire, or I'm going to slap a medkit on that. So it's not quite like any of the other systems I've played, where you're kind of got a load of resources you're trying to marshal. It's very immediate, where you go around the table and say, what is everyone doing? Okay, one person says, I'm going to do this, one person says, I'm going to do this, one person says, I'm going to do this. Then you all roll at the same time, and everything happens immediately. So you don't know what's going to happen, how your action is actually going to impact everything else. Less opportunity for tactics, I think, especially when you're first starting out with the game. It's not like a game in D&D where you're going, okay, well, if I do this and you can do that next turn, because you're the next in the initiative order, we can do that. it's very much just like everyone does the first thing that pops in, not the first thing that pops in their head, but everyone does an action, and you hope that it's going to synergize with what everyone else is doing. Can be quite challenging, but actually I think it's really good for, yet again, getting across that level of panic. It's not a question of like, we're here to kill a monster. It's, oh my god, there's a monster, and you're freaking out. I would. So combat takes a little bit of time to get. I take a little bit of time to get used to it, but actually surprisingly entertaining. I would say overall this is a very, very rules-like system. I would say that it is something that is very, very easy to learn. I think I'm going to take a bit more time to master it, though. I did notice this at the end. So they'd figured out what was going on, what had killed all the colonists. They were being chased by a space alien. As they were trying to get away, one of the characters was on top of a roof and was trying to cover the other characters as they fled to the dropship. One of our characters, unfortunately, the scientist, had gone through so much trauma that he was stressed out of his mind. He had failed a panic test. He was down to his last load of health. He was severely wounded, about to be eaten by the giant alien panther. And our sniper, who was an android, shot and rolled a 99 on her combat check. Now, when you roll a double, it's a critical. Now, if you roll the critical that is a success, that's great. Something brilliant happens. You either lose some points of stress or whatever, you figure something out. If you roll a critical and it's a fail, something bad happens. 99 is the worst you can possibly do. So, in that scenario, there's not a massive amount of guidance on what you do. The handbook basically says, you've got to have degrees of success or failure. If you pass, great. What you want to do happens, and if you're really, really good, then you can have. The Warden's got a lot of leeway in saying how well something goes. You've also got a fair amount of leeway in how bad something goes. Now, obviously, if it's a critical, you have to say this goes really, really badly. There were a few occasions where I was saying, oh, okay, you failed, but I'm going to say what you wanted to do is a success, but there are definitely going to be some consequences. That is quite a loosey, kind of goosey way of doing it. It's kind of what's advised in the materials. I would say that, especially first time running, it'd be more helpful if there was like a bit more cut and dried way of doing it, if there was like a more clearer table on different things. But the problem is, in that system, there's so many different things that people are going to try that I imagine it's quite tricky to be able to think out everything and have a table ready for you. So I can understand why not, but I just felt that was something that was a bit difficult for me. Obviously, in this situation, I knew exactly what I was going to do. The sniper rifle missed, hit a gas canister for the cooker in the mess hall that they were running past, blew the whole thing up, didn't kill the alien beastie, immolated the scientist. Fiery explosion at the end of a movie. I've got to be honest, we've all enjoyed seeing that. It was great to see that happen on the tabletop. Luckily, the remaining two players managed to get to the dropship, managed to escape. All very well and good. There were definitely some critical successes in there as well. The one I really quite enjoyed was the again, we had the critical we had the explosion and the fiery death of a player. We then kind of had an homage to Jaws at the end, where the android was able to throw some explosives into the Space Panther's mouth, and then the Marine who was down at the dropship was able to smile, you son of a bitch, and blow it up at long range with his rifle. Yeah, again, great, a lot of fun, some great cinematic moments, quite a lot of leeway for the Warden to kind of reward and punish the players. I wouldn't say punish, but kind of like to decide exactly what the dice rolls mean. I did find that for quite a lot of it, I was saying, oh, okay, you've succeeded by that much, or you failed by this much, so I'm going to say success, but here's the terrible thing I'm going to do to you. But in general, really, really easy. I really want to run some more games on this. There are a lot of fun ideas I've got knocking around, and the game, the box actually came with this unconfirmed contact reports, which is basically a big book of sci-fi gribblies to spark some imagination. There are definitely some good ideas in here, which I'm going to kind of mess around with. But yeah, all in all, definitely worth the game, especially for a one-shot. I don't know how it might work for a campaign. It's probably something that I would want to investigate further down the line. But if you've not got much idea of what you want to do, if you're kind of thinking we need to try some new sort of TTRPG game, highly recommend Mothership. You will have a very entertaining evening. Don't know if any of you guys have played it before. If you have, please let us know. And if you haven't, then let us know what you might want to do, what kind of sci-fi tropes and everything you'd want to encounter in a game of Mothership. Drop it in the comments. Love to read them. If not, well, have some fun.